Okay, so today we're going to be doing the Google slot or Google Sites and creating your own Google site to make your life easier. To get to your Google Sites, you can open a new tab on your computer, and you have your Google apps right here. Looks like a little waffle. If you click on that, one of your options is Google Sites. It looks like a little square, like an index card that's blue with a little white index card in the corner. And you're going to click on that. When it opens for you, it takes you to the old Google Sites page. These were never very easy to use, so I'm going to tell you, please don't hit create inside of here. It is not easy. You want to click on the left, it's listed as the new Google Sites. So if you click on the new Google Sites, it's going to open for you. And as you can see, I have a bunch of sites that some people have shared with me. If anybody's at a high school or middle school level, they've had students that have created Google Sites that are portfolios to share when they get older. So at Youngstown Early College, some of the students have created a portfolio, and they add into them their freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, and senior year, and they can share those with colleges once they're getting ready to fill out that information. So that's just a couple examples of how you can use it. You're going to click down here in the bottom right-hand corner. You have a plus that says Create New Site. I'm going to click on that plus, and it will open a blank template for me. You need to name your site. When you type the name of your site in the left-hand corner, it will actually fall right in here where it says Enter Name of Site. And I'm going to call this YCSD Google Certification 2020. And if I click out of that, if I hit enter, it automatically drops the name of the site right here in the top left-hand corner. I still don't have a title for my page. You could type home page. You could write Miss Trella's page. You could make the title of your page whatever you want. I'm just going to call this Google Certification. You can see it gives you some options to edit. You can make it a heading. You can make it the title. When you do that, it's automatically going to format your text the size and the shape that it needs to be. You can still, once I select the text, I can still bold it. I can make it italics. I can center it. I can put it on the left, the right, however I want. I can create a link here, and it would be a link to take them someplace else if they go in that, or if I don't like it, I can just throw it away. You can also choose the type of header that is up at the top. I always choose the banner. It's one of the ones that I like. If you don't want the banner, you can just have a title. You can have the large banner, which takes up most of the page, or you can create a cover, which is pretty much the whole page. So when people get on here, this is the only thing that they're gonna see. But I personally just prefer the banner because it's what I like. Now, this is kind of a plain background. I don't care for it. So I'm going to change my image. I'm going to add an image behind here so I can make this a little more interesting to people. And I'm going to select an image. If you have an image on your computer, you can upload it. But I just want to search one. And since I'm making this for Google, I'm going to search for an image of Google. When this search box comes up, any of the images that come up, you can see they are labeled for commercial reuse. So you are allowed to reuse any of these images however you want because there's no copyright on them. So I'm just going to choose this Google. As you see over here, it starts to make this what is called readable. So it makes it so it's the best look for whoever's coming in to check out your website. The second thing I would do is you have some tabs over here on the right. You have an insert, a pages, and a themes. I personally like to go into the themes, and I give my site a theme. And I will go in and say, okay, right now it's blue. Maybe I want red. Maybe I want green. Maybe I want purple. You have black. You actually have a paint box right here that you can go in and go to the color that you want and find it and make it whatever shade of green that I would like it. I can customize it. Then you can also choose the font style that you would like to use, and it will make this uniform throughout the whole website. You don't have to worry about that. Now, the one thing that you need to know about is that the American Disabilities Act was put in place a while ago. All of the school districts in Ohio were actually sued at one time because their websites were not compliant with ADA. There's no way they could sue all of the schools in Ohio. So there was put in place some things that we have to do. So I'm going to explain a couple of them to you now. So you have some of these tabs right here. We're going to go to the Insert tab. When I click on the text box, you have a space here that opens for you to work in. You have a color palette over here also. It gives you a few colors that you can set as a background for that section of your website, but it's very limited. It's very limited because you are going to be ADA compliant when you type in here. So if I write hello inside the box and I decide, oh, I don't really like this one, and I check another one, it makes the font, the color it needs to be in the background for it to be ADA compliant. So making sure those colors are acceptable for people that have a visual disability is very important. The other thing is you want to make sure that you choose those titles, or if this is not a text, if you decide to make this a heading and put something under it, you need to make sure that that says heading. So when the screen reader is reading your website, it will read heading and it will say hello. It does not show up as normal text. So that's really important, and it helps people with a visual disability, and nobody wants to get sued because their website wasn't compliant for somebody that has visual disabilities. That's the easy part. One of the problems that we seemed to be having didn't have to do with the colors or the fonts of our website. It had to do with our actual documents. So one of the things that you're allowed to do is input any of your documents in your drive. So if I click on my drive, and I usually use these two arrows right here, and I go to a recent document. So I'm going to choose a document that I've already created to drop in here. So I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I just want this Google Sites information for certification to fall right in. Once I click on it, I can hit the X and it minimizes it. I now have my information in here for Google Sites. Again, you can change the background. If I decide I want to put a little emphasis on this, I can see that there's now a dark gray around the outside. You can also reformat the size of this, but you have to use the circles that are presented to you with the item. So if I slide this over, now my whole Google Doc fits inside of that screen over on the left. If I want to make it bigger, I would grab the corner, and now I'm making that whole section larger for me to put something in. So your compliance piece comes into, so here's the Google Sites title that I created. But when I look over here on the left, I only made it in normal text. So if a screen reader is reading this, it's going to read it as its normal text. You need to make sure that it's either a title or a heading. So if you do that, it's actually going to format the text automatically for you to create this, so you don't have to worry about being ADA compliant. The second thing is, I never took a class on Microsoft Word. I taught myself. So I am world famous for hitting the return button 50 times to get to the next page. Well, if somebody has a visual problem and they have a screen reader, it actually reads every time you hit the enter key. So in order for it to not read any of this down here and go to a next page, I would have to insert a page break. If I insert a page break, it now allows me to go to the next page, and I can put, section 2 on here and put a heading on here, and it will automatically go from where it said survey to section 2. And there will be no information for that screen reader to read in between here. So just a couple things for you to do. Just think about when you are setting up your documents and you plan on sharing these with the world. So if you're sharing these with the world, these are some things that you would have to think about when you put them on here to be compliant for ADA. Now, the second thing you need to know is when you put this on here, who did you share it with? So I need to make sure when I'm in my share button that I have made this, and see it says anybody can view it, anybody with the link. So I made this possible for anybody in the world to click on that link. You can make it anybody at access. That means that somebody would have to log in with their school email and password in order to have access to your documents. So if you're creating a document and you plan for just your students to use it and your students to have access to it, then you just need to have on anyone at access. That is actually the default setting inside the Google Docs for our documents. If you want to share it with the world, you have to click more and you have to say anyone with the link, or you can make it public on the web. Either of these two at the top would be acceptable. I would probably say anybody on the web because I'm creating a website. So I would hit save and done. So now anybody that would click into this website that's anywhere in the world will be able to see this document that I have uploaded right here. If I decide that, oh, you know, this is really nice here, but I've got this big blank space over here to the right. When I decide I want to add something else, like a piece of text that's maybe directions, please take the survey. So I'm giving some directions right here. And I don't like how big they are, so I want to make them a little bit bigger. And you can see as I choose the different styles, it makes it different sizes and shapes automatically. You have these little dots right here. These little dots will allow me to move these around to my site. And you see it goes automatically to the top. You can't change this. Once this moves into the next section, it's in the top. If there's nothing else on this side, it's automatically getting the default to go to the top of that section of the website. So if I don't want it like that, I would do something like add an image. So maybe I want a picture in here to take up this blank space where I'm not really comfortable with nothing being there. Now you can go over here to insert and an image. And when I choose the image, again, I'm going to search for an image and I want a Google image again. And I maybe want this really cool lamp right here. So I'm going to pick this lamp. It'll say I've selected one. You can select more than one. You can have 2 or 3 and you insert them. Again, they're all going to fall to the bottom. So if I want to move this because I don't really want this here, I need to move it over. I'm going to just drag it and it automatically falls underneath here. You need to know when you drag your images over next to your text, these things are now connected. You can see when I try to move them, they're moving together. You have to click on the section that you want, and now it has the dots around it. Now I should just be able to, come on, move the picture. So I can drag the picture again. But by default, if you put an image or words or a calendar next to words or a Google Doc next to words, whatever you stack in that section will automatically become connected. You need to double click on those in order to separate them once you put them in. Now you can see this image that I put in. I can actually add a link to this Google picture right here. So if I want to make a link to the Google certification level 1, I would go to that website and it's loading. I would get the URL at the top or the website. I would copy it. I would go back into my Google site. And if I click on the insert link button, I'm just going to paste it. Oops, I'm sorry. Try it again. Link. There it is. And I hit apply. So now you can see that the link is attached to the picture. So if somebody comes in, they can click on the link attached to the picture. You can edit just the link and you can throw away just the link. You don't have to get rid of this whole picture to get rid of the link at a later date. Deleting would be at the top. Now you also have an option when you add pictures to crop them. So this is your cropping, and cropping is very interesting. In order to crop, you actually blow up the picture and then you would drag it into the section that is shown that you want. So if I just want it to show OOG, and then I hit the check mark when I'm done, now just that section of the picture is shown in there. If I double click again and I slide the bar, now I'm back to my original size. One of my best friends when I'm creating a website is this little icon at the top, and when you hover over it, it says preview. If I click on preview, it now shows me what the public would see if they logged into my site. So I can see that I have my title up here. If I click on here, it's going to actually take me to the link that I have out there. It shows me down here a computer view. It shows me what it would look like on a tablet, and it also will show you what it looks like on a phone. So if you have students that have phones and you want to see what this is going to look like, it will give you the view that you want to see when a person is looking at your website. So right now I only have one page, and this is pretty much my home page. If you're comfortable with just a home page, maybe you want to keep a home page. Other people may have multiple classes or multiple subjects, and they may want to have a page for each of their classes. So your middle tab over here is pages. So I'm going to add a new page. It's down here at the bottom. So I'm going to add a new page, and I'm just going to put level 1. Oops, I'm sorry, 1. So there is my level 1 page. Now I can see what showed up right over here on the right are my 2 pages. I have a home page and I have a level 1 page. When you create a new page, it actually copies the heading of whatever the first page was. For myself, I like to usually have each of my pages to have different pictures so I can separate them. So I might go into this page and I might select an image, and I may want to change whatever that image is. So I'm just going to click this computer right here, because these are some preloaded pictures that are already there by Google. In my home page, you can see is still green, and my level 1 should have that amazing image that will load in a minute, because that's how it is. Come on, it's this one. There we go. And it's adjusting it, and it automatically adjusts any picture that you put in here. So your pages are going to fall under here. If you decide that you want to add another page, please make sure you're clicked on home and you add another page. If you're clicked on level 1, it may not necessarily come over correctly. If I want to add a sub page into level 1, I click these 3 dots, and you have an option to add a sub page. So I may want to have resources under level 1. So when I do that, I now have a down arrow next to number 1, and when I hover on it, this is the sub page that goes with level 1. So I know this is going to be level 1, and then this page is going to be all the resources that somebody needs for level 1. And I still have my home page. If you're creating resources maybe for everything, you don't necessarily have to make it a sub page. But for me personally, I just want to make a resources page specifically for level 1. Now this is my resources page. Again, you can see that this has copied the same background that was on that level 1. That just automatically happens. If I decide I want to add, and you can see I'm clicked on the home page, I want to add another page, and it says level 2. My level 2 pops up at the top, but I don't want level 2 to be next to level 1. I can actually just drag this below and put it in the order I want. So now I have home, I have level 1, and I have level 2. And over here, I can see them very nicely. Now, if I'm working on this resource page, and let's say I don't have all my resources that I need, you can actually hide this so people can't see it, and then you can go and you can work on it, and then when you're done with it, you can show it again in your navigation so people can get to it. So if you have a page that you use for a project, you have your students doing a project, and you have all of your documents and your videos and your items on your page, but you're only using those in the fall, you can, sorry, I had to mute everybody. You can hide that and then just open it back up again the next year, and all your resources will already be in there for the students for your next group to use.
We do
So
have a question. Sorry.
sure, it's okay.
Do we have to click heading for new pages?
Where do you see heading for new pages? I'm sorry. So if you're in pages, I just clicked the new page button. And when I create my page and you name it, it automatically names that page. Oops, I didn't give it a name. It automatically names that page in the heading, whatever name I named it when I created the page. So if I don't give this a name, as you can see I did a second ago, it says untitled page. Then I'm going to have to go into my heading or into my header, and I'm going to have to give this a page, a name. Why did I say page? So now
Got
this,
it.
this one's called level 3. But usually you create your name when you create your page. Because now I have to go back and I have to rename my page because it's not coming over. It just says untitled. I've never done it where I haven't given it a name before I created it. So that's just my suggestion. Here we go. So you have to go into the properties in order to rename the whole page. So even though I changed the heading, it didn't change the name of the page. So if you don't give it a name when you create it, it's going to be a lot more work for you afterward to go into the properties and give that page a name. So I'm going to go into level 1, and in level 1, I want to add a video. So right down here at the bottom, here's my YouTube videos. I can actually click on YouTube. It's going to open up to your school YouTube account. I happen to want one that's uploaded, but let's see if I can find one that says Google. I don't think it's going to give me mine if I put it in there. I want one that I uploaded. So I'm going to go to uploads. I could also go to, let's see, if I put in Flipgrid Basics, if I know the name, it may give me a video I uploaded. It's not, it's giving me most popular. So if it's something that you made, you want to go into your uploads, and I'm just going to select it and I'm going to put it in there. It's automatically going to drop it in right at the top of the screen. You do have some headings in here where you can hide the controls or you don't want the progress bar to be red, it can be white. I don't usually change any of that. I'm very happy with the way that it falls in there, but those are again are preferences that you could have inside of there. Now let's say next to this, again, I want to add a text box. It says watch video. If I hit add text box again under the insert, it falls to the bottom. So once I create my text, I have to go to the little dots and I'm going to move it over there next to the video. If you don't like the format, just select the text. You're going to go up and you're going to choose what that looks like. Now, I know that after these videos, everybody wants to fill out the survey. So I've already created a survey. So if you have your students watching a video and you want them to fill out a Google form when they're done, over on the right, one of your options is forms. Instead of going into Google Drive, I can go directly to my forms and just choose forms. So that way I'm not searching through all of my Drive, just those types. So here's my webinar survey. If I click to add it, it turns blue and it says, do you want to select this? And I'm going to say insert. It falls over. Again, it goes to the bottom, but I don't really want it at the bottom. I can move this over here underneath the words. It's going to connect. So when people get on, they're going to see the video. The directions say, please watch video. And then I could put more that says, and answer the survey. All the directions will be right here and everything's in one place. Now, again, my favorite tool is preview. I'm going to go into the preview tool. Here's what it would look like for somebody that was on the outside, not creating. So I can actually go in here. I can hit the home button. I can see what links are there. I can see all my pages that I created and what they look like. And then if you hit the X, it exits you back out and you are now back in the tool to edit. So one of the things that I personally like to do, and I'm just going to show you an example first, is we have a blog that we've created. So out here, we created this blog. When we first started it, because we were experimenting, we made all of our information inside of here to give anybody access. We put QR codes so you could look at them. But we found that we like another site. So in March, if you go to our March, you're going to see I embedded the blog that we have created. So when somebody goes in here, this is actually our website that has different ideas that you can go to. And as the blog is updated, this site is also updated. So I can actually embed in my Google site another site. All you need to do is go to the website. So this is the blog that we have. I can click on the URL at the top. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go back to the Google site I was working on. One of your options is to embed something. If I click on embed, the first one says by URL. All I do is paste the website in there. It gives me a couple views. Do I want it to look like this with preview, or do I want the whole page to show up? I want the whole page to show up. So when I click on it, it now says insert. I'm going to insert it right in here. Here is the blog. You can use the little controls if you want to make it longer or shorter, because it's a set size. So if you want more people to see it, you're just going to start pulling on your dots. So now people can scroll through the site that you have embedded inside of your website. I would probably go out. I would want to take a look and see what that looks like for other people. And I would probably do a little bit of editing and make sure that this side gets moved over a little bit once I'm in here. So, or I would make it pop open into the site once they logged in. So that's just some options you have inside of here. You also have over here on level 1, if I wanted to put a divider between items that I have on here, I would click this divider button and it actually shows up. Come on, drag it over. Come on. At the bottom. So now at the bottom, this is a divider between all the information I had in the top. You're just going to see a tiny, tiny little line that's on your website. You can see I popped 2 right in the top right there. There's 2 lines, but there's a really thin line at the bottom that is going to separate or divide items you have on your website. I'm going to close out of the preview mode. One of the things that I suggest that you do is at the bottom of your page, you are going to add a text box that has your contact information. And I'm just going to put my email. Now, the reason why I would put this on here is if you decide you want your website connected to your school website, you need to have this at the bottom of your page, because already on the website, it tells people who to contact if they have questions about the East High School or Youngstown City website. So if they're on the website and they click into your classroom site, they're going to be very confused about who it belongs to. So I would just make sure that you have this contact information at the bottom. I may want to center this in the middle. So that way, when I publish it, if anybody has any questions, they can contact me, and they're not calling Youngstown City Schools to find out why something was posted or what was it about and how do they use it. They actually can email you directly with any questions that they have. So you can see over on the right, you do have some more options. If you wanted to put a table of contents in, you can. I have never really used a table of contents, because for me, you have the options right at the top. That is your, your guide through your website. But if you find that maybe you're doing something with a book and you want them to go to certain pages and you want it to look like a table of contents, they already have that set up for you. The image carousel is really cool. If you wanted to put a group of pictures, so if you're an art teacher and you wanted to upload the student's art, the image carousel would actually auto rotate, and the images would go around, so nobody would have to click on them and see what the next picture is.
Tiff, we do have a question.
Sure.
Does your contact info have to be out of the normal text format?
Out of the normal text format, I would say no. That should be just normal text. It's not a heading. It's not, it would be a normal text. You could make it a subheading if you want, but it's not a subheading either. That would just be normal text that would be read, read by the screen reader. Now, one of the things that's really nice is that if a friend that I know, they created their Google site and this was their daily assignments page, they would actually go out into their daily assignment page and they would change it every day. So I'm just going to go to to the Google sites that I have there. I'm going to change the color and I'm just going to add 2 lines and say, check this out. Okay, so remember, I'm working in my Google Doc, but if I go back to my site and I hit the refresh button, it will actually show your document. It should. Let me go to view. Let's see if it shows me. Come on. I'm hoping that it's not going slow, because once you change your document, it should automatically change over here. I don't know why it's not. Just did it in the last session. I'm sorry. I don't know why it's not doing it now. I just had it done. It turned blue, but my words did not. Did it show up? Does it say check this out? It does not. But they turned blue. So I'm not sure why that happened, but it will. Sometimes I can tell you it takes a few minutes for information to go from one site to sync to this. So it may take 5 minutes, but it shouldn't take any longer than that for your information to sync. One of the other things that I love having on our site is we actually on our homepage have a calendar. So if you go to our calendar, you can see every day what we're doing. So we have our information out there. You can actually add that to your Google site. So if you have a Google Classroom and you are giving assignments, it will actually already show the Google assignments if you choose to put that calendar out there. So I'm going to go down over here to the right and I'm going to choose calendar. It's going to give me a list of calendars that I already have out here. So I'm going to just pick the Google certification and I'm going to hit insert because this is the calendar that I want everybody to see. Your calendar automatically defaults to agenda. Okay. I personally don't like this view, and you can see it says make website. That's today. I like the month view. So in the settings mode, you can have some things like if I don't want this to say Google certification 2020, I could turn it off and now the title is gone. So these are options that you have on here. Down at the bottom, it says agenda. I don't want the agenda view. I want the month view. So if I hit month view and done, I can see that this says make website at the bottom. So one thing you need to be aware of, and if you were in yesterday and we talked about the calendar yesterday, I'm going to go to my calendar right here, this Google certification. That's the calendar that I entered. You can see it's orange, and under orange it says make website. You can see that in my calendar that is on the site that I prepared. I need to make sure that my calendar is shared with everybody. So if I go to these 3 dots and I go to my settings and sharing, I have to make this available to people in the public and they can see the events and details. If they only see that you're free or busy, there's really no point to that unless you're creating an appointment calendar and you don't want people to know who you're meeting with. You could do the see free or busy, but I want people to see all the events that we have happening. If you do not have this set, nobody is going to be able to see your calendar. You'll be able to see it when you're in edit mode, but anybody that's viewing the calendar once you publish it will not be able to see it. So you need to make sure that your calendar is allowable to people in the public. So I'm going to go out of settings and I'm just going to add an event tomorrow that says assignment 1. And I'm going to put it on my, oops, sorry, wrong calendar, my Google certification. If I hit save, We'll see if this works. If I hit the refresh button, cross your fingers and your toes, and there it is. I can see that on my calendar now, it says assignment 1 is due. If you choose to put in your calendar that's connected to your Google Class, your assignments will automatically show up here. If you give them a due date, you don't ever have to touch this calendar. Google Classroom will automatically bring over due dates for every single assignment that you give to those students. So that means that when I chose a calendar, I would have wanted to pick a calendar that's connected to my class. This 2020 Google certification is connected to my Google Classroom. I would have picked that one in here if I was giving assignments with due dates. Again, you don't ever have to add anything to your calendar. You would do that from your actual calendar, and that's where you would add everything, and it would show up automatically over on your Google site. So far, we have inserted a text box, images, something from our drive. We embedded something. You should be able to add a YouTube video and a calendar. A map is pretty cool. If you happen to want to put a map in for the location of your school or something like that, I personally wouldn't put one in, but if you're doing one for a whole school building, or maybe you're doing one for where you're going on a field trip and parents wanted to know, you could actually add a Google map. You enter your location. So let's see. Gibson Street. So there's Wilson. I'm going to put that in. Okay, I'm going to hit select, and it's going to drop that location in there so people will know how to get there, and they can click on the link to get directions to wherever it is that you guys are going. So that's another option. Again, it's one click and it drops right in. Again, it goes to the bottom. If any of these things that you put in you don't want at the bottom, you got to start dragging them and moving them to the area where you would like them to show up. Again, if you stack things on top of each other, all three of these things are now connected. I have to double click on the section that I want to move in order to move that section away from those other items that they're connected to. So I just want you to be aware of that. I can move the sections. You have 3 dots on the left here. If I decide I want my contact information at the top, I would actually drag my contact information to the top, and now it's at the top. If I wanted to move this hello and I wanted to put it somewhere else, I can actually drag that section of the website and I can put it in a different place. So you can move these around and create whatever kind of look that you would like to have. I'm going to put my contact information on the bottom. It's all up to you. I'm going to go out and I'm going to take a view. I'm going to take a look and see what this looks like. So I have my Google Sites, I have my image and my directions. I have a calendar out here giving people information with a map. Under my level 1, I inserted my video that has a survey that you can have people take next to this. So if this was something for parents that maybe you want to collect data during a parent-teacher conference, you could put this site on an iPad and just have them fill out that information. I also embedded a website right into my own right into my own site that I've created for my students. Do we have any questions at this time, Rachel?
No. Did you go over adding a collaborator?
No, that's what I'm going to do next, but I wanted to make sure we didn't have any questions yet.
Not at the moment.
Okay, perfect. And she's leading me right into the next step. So right up here at the top, you have share with others. If I'm working in a group and I want more than just myself working on this, so if I'm working on the 4th grade team or the 3rd grade team or the high school ELA department or whatever team I'm on, I want to invite those people so I'm not doing all the work myself. So I'm going to invite Andrea and Rachel, and I'm giving them editing rights. I don't have to. I can have that they'll just be able to view publish, but I don't know why you would invite people unless you just wanted them to view it, why you would add a collaborator that way. I'm going to send that to them. And you can see at the bottom, they're now on there. Now, right here, it says published with anyone at access. your website, when you publish it, is defaulted that the only people that can see it are on Access. So they have to be logged in with their school email. So if they're not logged into Chrome with their school email, they will not be able to see your site, okay? Unless you go in and change that default setting to anyone on the web, then you're gonna be chained to the fact that the only people that can see it have emails in Access. Now that includes Campfield, Boardman, Austintown. So that's anybody within Access. It's not just Youngstown City Schools, but you are limiting because our parents do not have Youngstown City School emails. So they would not be able to see this site. So I just wanted to make sure that you realize that. So I am going to publish anyone at Access. I'm going to leave the default on, okay? And right over here is your publishing. So when I go to publish, the first thing you have to do is you have to give this a web address. Right now, it technically doesn't have an address. It does say sites.google, youngstown.k12.oh.us. So that's all teachers in Youngstown. It's automatically going to default to that site. But now I have to give it a address. YCSD, Google Certification 2020. Now, this is really long. Oh, that's what I made the last one. I'm sorry. Gotta take that out. So I'm just going to call this YCSD Certification 2020. So you can see that down here, the end of my website is going to be YCSD Certification 2020. You might want to make this something smaller if you have students that you want to get to it and they can search for it, because in order to search for this site, they're going to have to put YCSD Certification 2020. So I don't know if you'd want to put, Mrs. Carter, Taft, but if you do that, every website that has Taft connected to it is going to come up. So you might just call this Miss Trella or Mrs. Carter or whatever the name of your website is. When I'm ready, again, it says who can view my site, anyone at Access. They are allowing you to change this before you publish it, because you need to know that the only people that are going to see this again have to be logged in with their school email. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit publish. And my site is ready to go. So for myself, I always go to the link. I copy the link and I can just hit copy. I open a new tab and I paste it in. And now I'm viewing it the way that other people will view my site. I'm not in that preview mode. I'm now in the official full-fledged site. Now you need to know that once you create this site, how is anybody going to get to it? That's when you need to share this information with your web publisher so they can post it on your school website so they can find it. Students just aren't going to be able to find this website. Now, if you shared this in your Google Classroom, the link to your site, they could find it that way. But you have to remember, you've now created this. How do people find it? You have to make a breadcrumb trail where people can find where your site is at. It's not just going to automatically show up for people to find. So I'm going to make a change inside my site. So when I go in here, I may decide that, I really don't want this map, so I'm going to throw it away. And I'm going to move this hello box. I'm going to move that all the way to the top. Oh, I went too fast. It went to the bottom. See, that's what happens when you go too fast. I'm going to try to do it again really slow. So see how I can see the blue of where it's hovering. Let's see if I can get it. There it goes. It fell right in. If I have to republish this every time I make a change, when I click on publish, it's going to show me what it looks like. This is the draft that I've created, and this is what's currently people can see. So I can view before I hit publish what's actually going to go out to people. So now I'm going to hit publish. And I'm going to change the way the site looks. So if that bothers you, if you don't like that editing tool coming up, like sometimes people don't want to see that review changes and publish, you can actually go into your settings and turn it off. So you would just go into your settings and it's one of your options. Oh, logo. I almost forgot to talk about that. So if you are at a school and they have a certain logo, like East High School has the Golden Bears, Taft has a bear, you can actually upload that and it will show up as a little logo in the corner of your website. So that's just something for you guys to keep in mind. I knew it. It's the mailman. Does anybody have any questions right now so I can put this on mute for a second?
Yeah, actually, there's several questions. Can you add interactive sites? And then the next question is this the same formatting that SysOps used to create each school building website?
SysOps do not create websites. The web publishers use School Messenger, which our website is School Messenger. So that's a separate training. And you can see this is our website. And at the bottom, it actually gives the company who's created our website, it says School Messenger here. So that is not what the web publishers use to put information on our website. It is different. What was the other part of the question? Interactive sites?
Yes.
Okay, so you can embed another website if it's allowed. Some people have blocked their websites from embedding. So that's something it would probably be, I would ask the person or email the person before I would actually embed a website that belongs to somebody else. I do know that teachers have a little bit of flexibility when posting a PDF or a worksheet because there's a lot of PDFs out there and it says for teacher use, you can share and use within your classroom, but you can't publish it publicly. So if you would have this website and then when you're sharing it, you're only sharing it to access, that would be okay because they would have to log in to see the PDFs that you shared within your site. But if you're making this public and you're putting on a website from another company, that's very dangerous because it doesn't say that you can share it publicly. It says you can share it within your class. So I just want you to be aware of that. Is there another question?
How do you get it on Google Classroom?
How do you get this site onto Google Classroom? So when I would go to the link, and I'm going to copy the link, I would go back over into my Google Classroom. And I'm going to pick the 2020 Google certification. And if I wanted to share something with my class, I would just put check out the website. And I could drop the link in here. I should have put a space. There we go. There's the link. I'm sorry. My link should be under link. One of my things I don't like is when I look at somebody's website and they have all that HTTPS. So there it is. So now when I hit post, they can actually go in and now they can view the site. So that's how you would share it inside of Classroom. This would also be something that I would make sure that I pin to the top of my stream or classwork so they would see it every time. I would definitely add a topic to it. If you know how to do that, when we talked about Classroom, I would add a topic and then pin it to the top. So your website would be a resource that they see automatically at the top when they log in.
Can you show us how to figure out who our web publishers are?
Yes. So your web publishers are listed on our district website. If you go to departments and information technology, you're going to see there's actually a page for web publishers. When you click on that, there's a link right in the middle that says list of web publishers. And here is the list over here on the right of people that are web publishers for your school. So if you have any questions, you can ask me, but this is current. I have worked with all of these people recently. And usually there's no problem. If they have a problem posting it, you can just have them contact me, but most of them are very, very fluent with the School Messenger. Is there any other questions?
Not that I see at this time.
Okay. So that's the basics of a Google site, how you create one, and different options that you have. If you have any questions, you can contact myself or Rachel and Andrea, and we can walk you through any parts of the website. But really, it's a drag and drop. But again, you're going to have to get in and you're going to have to play with it and experiment with it to find your level of comfort